Good morning and welcome back to day 3 of Hackasat here at DEF CON CTF 30. Let's get right into it.
Not Hackasat.
I said, I did it! I did it! I was so afraid I was going to do it. Welcome back to live CTF. Listen, we're going to edit that on the VOD. We're going to change it. Welcome back. No, we start over. Welcome back to live CTF here at DEF CON CTF Finals, DEF CON 30. Let's get right into it. Let's let the teams get going for the semifinal round. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
All right. So, as you can see, we are starting to get a little bit tired here as we get towards the end of the
It's been a long
competition,
weekend.
But we are down to the semifinals. So we're going to have 2 semifinals today and then the grand finals. And these are important matches. Like looking at the current scoreboard of the DEF CON CTF, these points will affect the final standings.
Yes, absolutely. Like we're at the point where both the point totals are going up, the amount that teams are getting for making it further into live CTF, and the teams that are here are all teams in the top half of the scoreboard. And so this can change things. It really can.
Definitely. Let's just take a quick look at each of the teams and see what they're doing. Starting over here with MMM. Pulling up Ghidra. Was that what they were using in the previous matches?
I don't remember. Well, so they've changed their players before.
Right.
So it's. I think Jinmo was using Ida, but
Ida on Windows.
Yes. But we may have had Geeter before from Robert. So I'm not sure. But
Right. Let's check with Starbucks.
Yeah.
We can see a bit of terminal, starting a Python.
let's go ahead and tell everybody the name of the challenge, kind of the information on this one. This
Right.
is called AES of Spades, Ace of Spades, because really that's what it's all about, right? Like it's very important that you get the good name, the good pun,
Yes.
and then you figure out how to make a challenge out of it.
Right. And I originally made this challenge, or like I started making this
Yep,
challenge,
yep.
And it was like in a messy state. And then Josh
Yep.
came in and kind of like salvaged it and like turned it into something that we see here today. So I don't really know what the challenge is about, except that as the
You know what
name-
it was about originally?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's changed, and so we're going to find out too.
Right. I mean, it does involve AES encryption. Like that's
Yep.
that's definitely still there. We can see if we switch over to MMM's decompilation here, you can see that AES 128 init and AES 128 encrypt. So there is some kind of AES encryption thing going on here. So they are doing a little bit of decompilation, trying to name the variables, making sense of what the program is doing. So we've been told that basically it's AES encryption, like it's an arbitrary write dressed up with some AES encryption. That's basically what the challenge is about. If we switch over to Starbucks again, we can see that they are doing some using an online disassembler.
I thought that was a little unusual. I was a little
Yes.
surprised by that too.
So they are, I'm not entirely sure. They are like verifying a couple of. They're doing some calculation with some offsets.
Just want to look at maybe some opcodes.
Yeah. They're writing a little piece of shell code, right? Yeah, you can see. So they're putting together a small piece of shell code.
Oh man,
And-
they really need to learn Binja's. This is what Binja is really good at. I'm
Mm.
trying not to do it too much, but I have to. This is exactly the kind of thing it works really well for.
Yeah.
You can stay right in the one app. But yeah, it's so building up their payload using an online assembler rather.
Yeah.
And there we go. We got a brief little glance at the source code, and they're off again.
So this is interesting because we can see that in contrast to MMM, who started more like analyzing the code,
Right.
they went straight into putting together some kind of payload. As you can see here, their exploit script being put together. There's some shell code there that has been assembled, and I'm not entirely sure what the shell code was doing. I saw that it was
It looked like a pointer address.
it was using some kind of pointer within the program, and there was a syscall in there, maybe changing memory protections.
Well, it says it's code, and it looks like they're dropping. I mean,
Right, so it could be, an mprotect plus shellcode, right?
yeah. But the thing they have labeled code looked like it had a. Is that a pointer?
Yeah, we'll see.
I think it is.
If
yeah.
we do switch over to MMM, we see that they have also started putting together an exploit script here. You can see they have this calculate key function, and so I guess that they, in this program, your resulting payload it could be like the result of the encryption. So
I mean, I will say, watching Starbucks, it looks like they know what they're doing. They certainly are making an attempt to they're XORing the IV with their shellcode.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure. That sure sounds like a thing that would be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, okay. So the payload is the IV. Oh, interesting. Okay. So the IV that's used for the encryption is part of the payload, and so actually that makes a lot of sense. We're seeing them XOR that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they saw that very, very quickly. Certainly faster than we could follow along as they looked at it. It makes sense though. These are our top teams. Oh, so actually where did that? Oh, okay. So that was memory. That was a piece of memory that they pulled out of the binary, and they're XORing that with the code, which is the IV.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. But it's actually interesting to see now. So they are looking now in the debugger. I guess they are now testing out their payload to see if it is working. So this could be a quick one.
Yeah, could very well be.
Like, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many steps there are to this, but if we're already seeing some shellcode being thrown in there, there might not be too many steps involved here at all. If we switch over back to MMM, we can see that they have this calculation function. They put a bunch of like A's and B's in there, and from that they're calculating a key and an IV. And we can see they're starting to put together the interaction to send this key, send the IV, receiving an address. There's maybe like a leak, like an intentional thing. We would just give them something there.
Yeah, and I don't see them yet creating that key. So if I'm looking at this now, it looks like Starbucks is a little bit ahead just based on how they've already got the memory address pulled out. They're XORing it with the IV, which is their code.
Right.
So I'm seeing that. That looks certainly further along. But
yeah.
and we did see Starbucks show up earlier into that payload and start it. That said, I would say that first person to start writing their payload script has not been an indicator of success. Right?
No.
It's been sometimes slow and steady wins the race, and sometimes quick to get your script out does, and so it's not been consistent.
We saw MMM here testing their payload. I saw them like connecting to a local setup of the challenge. It was not a successful exploit, at least. That's all I know. It was hard to tell, like, to what extent it was, successful or not.
Yeah, the further along we get in this competition, the more we need pause because these players are so fast.
Yes.
That, just trying to kind of keep up with them. We did see some of the classic AAAs being put in on Starbucks just a second ago off camera.
Right. They're also checking memory mappings there, was it? Or...
Yeah, I don't know if they're searching for their values that they send in.
Right. So just to quickly a little bit recap of where we are in the tournament. This is one of the first semifinals between Starbucks and MMM, and then right after we will have the second semifinals between Perfect Root and Rekapig, and the winners of those respective matches go to the finals.
Yep.
And these teams, I'm trying to look over a little bit at the scoreboard of the main event, and these are all in the top half at least of the scoreboard.
Actually, I think Rekapig might not be. Looking at that, it's really perfect.
Oh right, okay,
So in order relative to one another on the top scoreboard, MMM is in number 1. But Perfect Root is in number 4.
Yeah.
And I would say they're within striking distance, right? So at 4, they're about 4,000 points behind MMM. Actually, a little bit less. They're almost about 3,000.
Right.
And it depends, though. If MMM wins this, they've basically fended off any attack, even if they lose in the finals. I don't think anyone will be able to kind of close the gap to them based on this event.
No.
But if they lose now, and Perfect Root ends up winning in the finals,
that's going
to put it real close. It's going to put it very, very close,
Yes.
and it will really depend on how they do in the main event.
Right, let's not forget that they
point.
have like almost, it's like a couple of hours.
Yeah,
It's
so
3.5 hours of this, yes.
Yep, exactly, left in the game here, too.
So definitely a really exciting, it's always fun when, it's not, the competition is not decided until the last moment.
It could go down to the wire. You
Yes.
want it to be, I mean, as an organizer, you want it to be. As a player, you would love to win it early. And
I mean, sure.
Win it a blowout.
When you're playing a CTF, like how many times have you not been thinking like, oh, can we just not like solve all challenges so I can go to bed? But that's not going to happen in the DEF CON CTF.
Okay, yeah. So I'm seeing Starbucks over here is definitely continuing to tweak their script by pulling out the pointers of the memory address that they're using. They're verifying that memory and updating the IV that they're
You can see a
storing.
syscall being made there, and then they are trying to figure out what happens afterwards.
This might be it. Are we switching over to live?
Oh, did it work?
They look like they were. It was.
This is going to be. I mean, it's going to be tight. I think both teams have pretty good progress on this. They have some bad instruction there. There's something wrong.
Yeah, there's a bug earlier.
There's something wrong in their exploit. So not there quite yet. They're going back to the assembler. Oh, they switched it to 64.
Oh,
But they,
there was a typo there. They missed a 0 at the end of at the
oh,
end of an immediate
okay,
value.
yeah,
And so everything
yeah.
was shifted off, so the value was wrong.
And this is the thing, like these,
That's the
when you're
little bugs. Oh,
working
here it is.
with
Here
like
it is.
this low-level
hold
stuff.
on, hold on. Did
memory
they just
corruption-
switch? They just switched to throwing live. They went through it live.
Are they going for it? Oh, they are typing. It's going fast. I'm just checking here.
Oh no. They're
Oh, they're going. They're going. Oh, it did not work.
no such port.
Okay.
Here it is.
yeah.
Here it is. Here it is. Oh, typo. There
Yeah.
it is. Starbucks. Congratulations. Well done.
Oh my
A
god.
super fast speed race. Well done on the challenge. Ace of spades. Congratulations to Starbucks, who makes it to our finals. We'll see you
Congratulations.
back here for our next round.
That's it.
and welcome back to our second semifinal round. I'm CypherTex here with Zeta2.
Hello.
I introduced you, sorry. And on the line, we also have Live Overflow.
Hello, I'm back.
Excellent. So we got a 3-commentator matchup today as we get closer and closer to the finals. Here we're going to have Perfect Root and Rekapig. And let's just go ahead and count them down right away. Everybody.
Right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! And we'll quickly switch over to the teams. They are ready for this challenge.
Yeah, we saw. So they've been given the name of the challenge, Loopy Brain, which.
And they were told it was an interpreter.
All right. So where does that take us?
I think also the menu is immediately telling the teams what it is about.
Yeah. They definitely knew what sort of challenge this was. In fact, we even saw one of the teams beforehand where the web page opened with the spec for that particular flavor of language. Both flavors of language, I guess.
Right. I saw. I was also actually looking at one of the competitors' computers before the start, and they had in their exploit template, they already had helper functions for brainfuck code. So yeah, they're taking this seriously.
So wait, did I get this correctly? You mentioned them the name, and they immediately knew it was about brainfuck before.
Yes.
They knew
access to
before
the
they
binary?
even showed up. They
Yes.
they were ready. We've got.
Oh, you told them way in advance of the name
So
of the challenge?
we do tell every team the name of the challenge. Yes, an hour in advance, because we want them to send up the right person.
Okay, I didn't know.
I think we had a problem with our stream capture. We may have been having some glitches there, but I think we got it all straightened out now.
Yeah, it seems good. Right. Yes.
A little bit of a visual artifact there. So if you're on the stream, we should now be up. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. Again, they know that it's an interpreter. They know that it's pwnable. And I think this is actually a category of challenge that's been around for a long time. In fact, we were looking and we realized that someone had actually written, a friend of ours had written a version of this 9 years ago for another CTF that was a different challenge.
Yes, but it has a lot of similarities.
Very, very similar. Yeah, so we thought it was really funny. It's a common idea. I think difficulty-wise, since Carl, you wrote this, how would you rate this one relative to some of the other ones?
So the original version of this was kind of difficult,
Yeah.
I would say, and then we toned down the difficulty a bit. So I would say it's still definitely not one of the easiest challenges we've had, but I hope it's not one of the most difficult ones either.
I had a quick look at it, and immediately I thought, oh, that's going to be an easy challenge, until I heard about or noticed the little twist that's in this challenge that does make it a little bit more tricky.
Well, yeah, go ahead and describe what you saw, because I think for the stream, we're going to give them the pleasure of knowing what's going on, even as the competitors are having to figure it out.
Yeah, maybe I should mention what brainfuck is. It's an interpreted language that is working on symbols. You have imagine a big, a field or something, and then you can move a cursor to the left, to the right. You can increment, you can decrement a certain field, and essentially here the movement on this big array has no constraints, so you can have out of bounds reads and writes, and so it should be pretty easy to go out of bounds. And I don't know if that field is on the stack or
No,
in the global.
it's on the stack, yeah. So you should, as you said, looking at it, you can just I'll just increment the data pointer outside the bounds of the data data area into the return pointer, and you're done, right?
Right, and that's what I thought. Oh, this is actually they should figure this out very quickly, and it would be quickly done. Then it's just about the tooling to get the brainfuck program to manipulate the memory in the correct way. However, there's a size restriction on the brainfuck program,
Exactly.
and that makes it significantly more difficult.
Right.
So a lot of exploits, right? You're in a constrained environment. You've got a small bit of shellcode or a small payload. So what are you going to do with that?
Yes. So I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the players are looking for something to loosen their constraints, and these things can get creative. There are many ways how one could do that. Maybe you can change the accepted size.
Yep.
Maybe you find an interesting. Maybe you can overwrite the return pointer and find a very useful gadget in a interesting way. I mean, it's a limited brainfuck program, but with some creativity, they could find some very interesting exploitation paths for this.
It's a little similar to the Invulns challenge before, right, where we actually had a simple command injection, except it was too few characters, and so they had to use one of the other vulnerabilities to make that the limit larger, and then they were able to use the original kind of design.
A lot of similarities here, and I think a key thing here is that the data array sits just after the program array.
That's the key insight. When we see them naming like data and code and noticing they're adjacent to one another, that's going to be the point at which we know that they're on their way to figuring this out.
If we look here at Rika Pigs, who someone says that it's how it's pronounced in the chat, if that's correct. Thank you
I'm not
much.
sure. I'm not sure exactly which one it is.
Yeah, we've been saying Reka Pig throughout the tournament, but it might be Rika Pig because they're from the team Eureka. That
sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll go
anyway,
with
what I was going to say was that they saw that there's a win function in the program. So they don't need to do a full exploit chain like a ROP chain or something like this. They just need to take control of the instruction pointer and point it to the win function.
Yeah. There's different things to make it easier or harder, and this one we already knew the challenge itself had enough difficulty with it that we wanted to make it a little bit easier once they had the ability to change a pointer, for example.
Right.
Well, and
we also can see the interesting setup from Rika Pick with their interesting Windows 7 VM with all the reversing tools.
Yeah.
Not even full screening it, just like working in
I don't
VMware
need the full resolution. I need 2 start bars are fine for me. I know. I'm impressed. It's like it feels like a little bit like a handicap. Like they're playing with the difficulty set to high. To flex.
So just switch over to Perfect Root here. I see a lot of blue stuff on this screen.
Yeah, so they've actually opened up the file in Vim. So they're hex editing the challenge to change the LD string? I don't think I've seen that before. It looked like they were changing
right. It might be to make it easier to run the challenge locally.
Modifying it to like their version of the loader.
Yeah, you can see that it seems to be running now.
Yeah.
Did they also have problems with the version?
Yeah, I think it was the version of the loader is different than the one on their box. And instead of, so we actually give the loader with everyone. So you can, one of the other teams demonstrated earlier, which actually Kamoza wasn't even aware of, that you can run the loader as an executable and then pass it the argument of the application, and it will still run it, which is basically what the kernel does for you when you execute it. But so instead of doing that, they just literally put a bunch of forward slashes into the raw string using Vim where the reference to that library was, so that it would use the local one that they had instead of the one on our original system.
Yeah. I want to switch back over to Rika Pig. You can see them running the debugger here as well with the challenge, and you can see a little bit there in the background. You can barely see it, but they have this script, and you can see all these like deck pointer, incval, deckval, and so on. These are the helper.
Operations.
Yes, and you can also see that they had a comment in the code with the ./submitter2, so they already have the string, the thing they have to run to win. Like, so they're trying to like make
optimize
all the different
as much as
time
possible.
savings. Yes, they know that this can be tight since we are like
seconds have literally mattered.
I was wondering, what are the rules if one team is accidentally running submitter with the wrong team number?
Then that result stands. So if you make the other team win, the other team wins. That's, we have told the teams
we
this.
did debate that, and we told them that was going to be the way that we would do it. So be very, very careful with your. And I will say, the risk isn't as bad as you might think, only because each team, when they first connect to the server, they choose their team, and it gives them their exact information. So most of the teams click their team name and then just copy and paste all the information from there. So haven't had anybody mess it up yet, but
no. My fear there would be that someone would like keep their template from like a previous match and then reuse it or something like this.
Yeah.
Maybe for next time we should have like not just one or two, like a small.
We should match with the global IDs of the. For example, every team has an ID on the DEF CON network as well.
Yes. We should do something like that.
Lesson learned for next year. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of things we can improve, but I think it's been running pretty smooth. This whole thing. I hope you've been enjoying it. The people who have been watching throughout the weekend.
So I haven't seen anybody yet figure out that first constraint, right? I don't think I've seen anyone get their way out of.
Well, we can switch over here to.
It might be difficult to assess if they have seen it, because it's like a mental note they would make themselves, right?
Right.
We would have to look at when they start writing brainfuck, if they realize that they are constrained or not.
Right, and that's what I wanted to point out here on Perfect Root screen. So they tabbed away from it now, but just when you switch it, you can see that they had this small program with a loop and the input.
Right there, the P equals.
Yes. You see the comma is the input. It will take it 1 byte input from standard input and write it to the current cell on the tape. And then the brackets are a loop. So they are, they're kind of, I think they're going to, you see the input in a loop thing going on. So that's definitely on the right track. Though I think they want the greater than sign rather than the plus sign. But, you know, maybe they have another idea. There are probably a lot of different solutions to this challenge, but you need to escape that initial constraint.
Yeah, and letting it overwrite into the next buffer, and then getting the interpreter into that buffer.
Right. So there are like
probably the hard, like the main.
That's the bug.
Bug. Right,
yes.
Exactly. So
there are essentially 2 bugs, right? It's the one that Live Overflow mentioned initially here, that like you can increment or decrement the data pointer outside the data region.
Right.
But then to be able to have enough code to do that in the first place,
right.
you need to escape this like 9-character program limit. And the way you can do that is they can actually get the instruction pointer to jump into the data region.
So they're gonna stage up their shellcode. That's what we're looking to see. If we don't see that in the next 5 minutes or so, I think we're going to want to give them a hint on that one, because we're going to want to see somebody with that second stage, because they still have even more to the challenge even after that point. So we'll see the exact timing and we'll figure it out, but there's more work to do. So this one is, again, this was a little on the harder side, but it's also super interesting that they have to kind of like chain these things together.
Yes. So we can see here on Rikapig's the assembly, you can see that they're looking at the reading of the program. Like when we're reading in the program, they're looking to see if they can smuggle. For example, they saw that we're using the string length function there to maybe check if they can smuggle like null bytes or something into this. Yeah, not exactly sure where they're going there, but just looking more into the. You can see now they have the cursor basically on half the bug there. You can say that the loop of the interpreter keeps going specifically until the program counter. Usually in a situation like this, you would have like a comparison be like program counter is less than the end, but in this case it's program counter not equals that specific size. So if you manage to get the program counter larger than 9 in this case, it will keep going.
Yeah, so that's part of it, but then how do you get it past it in the first place, right? So that's the other thing that they still have to find.
I also just noticed that, I mean, I have seen the source code, and I didn't quite realize at the moment, but I'm seeing it here in the disassembly, that the size is hard-coded. So it's not a variable that they can easily change. So it is definitely a bit more tricky to escape that. In my mind, I thought they can change that limit from a variable standpoint, but it's definitely hard-coded, so it's right there as a as an actual value.
Yep, immediate, right in the
immediate,
compilation. Yep.
And yeah, we can.
That might be quite tricky. So.
Oh, they found the bug here on Perfect Root.
Yes.
So you saw there very briefly in their small initial payload, you saw that they had an unmatched opening loop bracket at the end of their code, and that is exactly the bug. So if you have an unmatched bracket, the subroutine that handles the loop, it will, when it sees that initial bracket, it will then keep searching forward
and
to find
doesn't stop at the maximum limit.
Exactly, because that check is in the outer loop. This is in like the subroutine to find the matching
that particular bracket.
Yes, and it will just keep going until it finds a matching end bracket. So you need to first write a right bracket into the data section, and then have a left bracket in your code, and then the program counter will then.
And just to clarify, when you say data section, it is specifically the buffer in memory that is for data.
Right. I'm
on
not
this-
talking
yes,
about
the actual
like
data
the
section that exists in
no,
the ELF.
No,
Right,
I'm
right,
talking
right, right.
within the brainfuck context. We
yes.
have like the program and the data.
Excellent. So yeah, so I would say perfect route, well on their way. No hit needed. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
That is great to see, and we're just looking to see if Rika Pigs can catch up. Which certainly there's still a lot left to go, so it would be at all possible.
In the previous matches, Rikapik has shown they spend a lot of time in IDA, and it always feels like they are behind because they're still just reversing. They're not working on exploit, but then suddenly they start crafting their script almost blindly without really a lot of testing. It seems like, and suddenly they really run
caught
full
up
speed.
and exactly. Very different styles. You see a lot of both.
You can see that they are, I think, looking at like the GOT table and now back to the like interpreter. I haven't seen that much of their exploit script yet. So as I said, they're just like really looking at the code, trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, you can feel free to hang out with them for just a little bit too. We'll wait and see if they bring up their code.
Right.
We might catch a glimpse of that. I'll keep an eye on perfect route and let me know if something's happening over there.
So this is really the situation where you would want to be able to like read the minds of the players.
We just got to pause time, go over there and ask them, "What are you thinking right now?" no problem.
That's surely going to be appreciated, right?
Yeah, they would.
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you for a moment?
yeah. This won't derail your train of thought, will it?
Right. But it feels like they have not quite seen this loop bug yet.
Yep.
That's my impression.
When when you do programming or reading assembly, when you have experience, you have this mental model and you can really reason about the code that is happening. But brainfuck is a language you usually are not used to. So now not only do they need to craft the brainfuck program, but they have to craft a very small, buggy program that does something interesting. And reasoning about this little code, condensing it down, these kind of abstraction layers you have in your mind when working with code bases and so forth. This is all missing with brainfuck, and I think that is really, really difficult to do, especially under pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I had this when I was creating like the reference solution for this. There were several moments where I went like, oh, I'll just do this, and then I realized that like doing this is something that would be like trivial in a normal
Shell
programming
code
language or anything, but in this context, it's like actually quite a hassle.
Yeah, and you're kind of merging these two contexts too, right? Because you have, and this is actually I think really interesting because while this is clearly a toy language and not real, it very much models what you see like in a browser in JavaScript, where they have a virtual machine, they have often multiple interpreted languages, and you are both working within and outside of at the same time. So you have to work within the memory model of the native program.
Breaking the layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think because we're seeing progress here on Perfect Route, like we're good without a hint. Like they don't seem stuck. They seem like they know what certainly the first challenge is, and Rika Pig's still got time to catch up. So I think we're okay.
Yeah, checking with.
We also do have a little bit of extra time too between this match and the next one.
Right.
So
I'm not sure if you mentioned it also. You did with the unmatched loop variable that Perfect Route has that already in their code, right?
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So you can tell there.
And you could also see there was some debugger output there when they were looking at the memory, and they're right here. You can see all of those three E's. I think, if I remember correctly, that corresponds to a dot, right?
No, dot's 2E. So
or is it a greater? It's one of the relevant characters in this, and you can see that there are way more than 9 of them.
I think it's going to be the greater than, because they got the greater than.
All right,
times
you can see there in the
128.
payload. They're writing in a lot of greater than. Oh, and this is exactly what they need to do for the stage 2. This is exactly what you see. They have
move that pointer
so
all the way over into a return address or something else.
Right. So they're definitely on the way.
So I think they're just calculating offsets. They're just trying to figure out how far to move it over.
Right.
And then they need to figure out how far they need to, or what they need to increment to get that original return address over to the win function.
Yeah. So the idea here is that you walk the data pointer over to the return address. Pi is enabled, so they will have to first print they will have to print the current return address on the stack. Print the current return address on the stack. Use that to calculate the address of the win function, and then write back the new value. Or a partial overwrite of the return address might also work fine.
Yep, couple of options.
Just for clarification again, what we are seeing right now with the brainfuck program from Perfect Root, they have an input loop. The comma is input, so basically they have a loop that keeps wanting to get input data, and then they send that, and that causes writing more of the code, and then the original program has the open bracket, which is now matching what they were inputting later.
Yep. So because they put another bracket later, that lets the part of the program that's looking for that match to jump over the end of the code, and when it fishes in the data, the later on check that says am I equal to the end says no, you're not equal to the end. Keep going. This is fine, and it continues to interpret.
Right, and you can see
and
here
the
that
additional data they got in there through the input loop.
Came in through all those commas, exactly. Yeah.
Right, and you can see that the second phase there in their exploit script, it starts with a closing bracket to catch that jump.
Because otherwise, it's going to go right past it. The other piece of code that's looking for the matching bracket just keeps going until it's either there or it hits the end of a memory
Something's
page.
Weird gonna happen.
Exactly. So it's not going to do what you intend.
So they're definitely, they definitely know what they're doing here. They just need to figure out like the details here. We're having some discussion in the chat here about the Google CTF Accelerate competition that I was involved with, and a lot of my colleagues. There are like similarities to this, but there's like the game hacking element to it as well.
It is a visual element, which is nice.
Right. Yes. So and we will be hosting that as well in September.
People are asking for videos. Are videos from 2021 coming out?
They are coming out. We've had, some. There was a lot of work. There were people getting like long COVID. There were like a bunch of unfortunate events. But the videos, like the video files, still exist, and we will release them.
Not lost. They're coming out.
No. We have them. I have a spreadsheet tracking all the different video files. They will be released. So keep an eye out on social media stuff for the Accelerate information as well. That's going to be super fun. We're actually doing it on site this year. So
very nice.
Trying to bring a bit of an esports vibe to it as well. I think that would be super cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's really exciting that we're seeing more and more of these like events that try to let you see inside the hacking as it happens.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not a coincidence then that those of us that are involved in it tend to be involved in multiple things too. So
yes, I would say the area of like security live hacking competition is very small
niche.
field. Yeah,
it's
very niche.
But all right, so we've changed up the code a little bit. So we've got our ending bracket. We're going to move the pointer just a little bit extra. But that's actually is the problem that the data pointer and the instruction pointer are essentially overlapping right now in their code, and they're trying to.
Yeah, this is exactly what I think Live Overflow here you were talking about. Like this, you need to create this mental model of these two pointers walking this buffer, and it's not really something that you're familiar with.
Yep. So I'm just looking at this. My guess is that you can never win this race, though, right? Because a single byte is a single byte, and so if your data pointer and instruction pointer are the same, and you're going to move them both at the same rate, wouldn't you have to put it into a loop that would?
That's how I did
faster?
it. I basically just had a loop that went on until I had an input loop, and then until I sent a null byte, it would stop.
Yeah, I think they're going to need something like that, because I think essentially just putting a bunch of move rights it's going to increment both the program counter and the data counter at the same rate, right? And so you're never going to win that race because they're both moving forward at the same rate. I guess that would be different if each byte was stored in like a bigger structure, like it was like a D word or something like that. You might be able to misalign them differently that way. But so I think until we see that, they're going to be stuck on that stage unless I'm misunderstanding where that is at. And so are we seeing anything from Recapigs? Because they have some ground to gain.
They have been staring at the IDA code still. I think I do wonder what they are thinking, because they must see that they can move that array out of bounds for sure. I cannot, like, it's too easy. They for sure have to know about it.
It's
So
hard
I
though when you
want,
get like put on the
yeah,
spotlight. Sometimes something that would be
sure,
immediately
sure.
obvious if
Yeah.
you were sitting at home.
I think.
But I do wonder if they've seen the restrictions and they understand. Okay, we can't actually pull it off, and maybe they are hunting for a second bug, and maybe playing around they might could notice it. But I think they are just like in their head trying to
Yeah,
figure
that's a
it
good
out.
point too. Again, that's what we saw earlier, is that maybe they're
Yeah.
trying to just put this together in a one shot, as opposed to like build a small piece, test it, build a small piece, test it, and so
Yeah.
you know.
Speaking of
yeah.
mental models again, you can see that thanks to how the program was compiled. So if you look at the source code, the program array and the data array, there are
Oh,
two
there
separate.
we go. There we go.
Oh, nice.
That's a good looking one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
They're looking at the definition here. They're looking at the loop construct.
yes, that is an interesting thing to look at. I think that's a fantastic thing to be looking at.
Yeah.
And look how they write the code here. They write it in pseudocode,
Yeah.
and probably translate it then into brainfuck code, because this is just easier for them to reason about what they are doing.
Right.
However, I do wonder if they miss then this trick with the keeping open bracket, because that is something you can reason about in a brainfuck program that's moving the cursor forward, while a dangling open bracket is not something you would.
No, like if
maybe
you would
think
write
about
in, if you
yeah.
would write in C and you would have like an unmatched bracket, your code wouldn't compile. So that's like,
Yeah.
it's an error, you fix it, and then you're done. Yeah. So I was saying, like in the source code, the program array and the data array are the two separate variables next to each other. But the way this is compiled, if you look at the decompilation, it looks like one array, and then there are a bunch of offsets sometimes when this is being accessed. So that can make it like a little bit harder to reason about this. You need to kind of detangle this and say like, no, this is not one array. These are two arrays that
Yeah.
happen to be next to each other.
Yeah, and that's the part that I think we're still not seeing Perfect Root kind of piece together, because they're trying to treat them independently without realizing that I think they happen to be overlapping, because they've got this. They believe they've calculated the distance correctly, but I think that all they're going to end up doing is overwriting. if they put too much data in, they're going to end up actually just overwriting the return address with their data, which won't help them, right?
Right.
Because they're not going to be able to write the proper values. They're all going to be write things that happen to match these characters.
Perfect Root is going for here now testing, writing arbitrary bytes instead of increments with the input command, which obviously would save
Yep.
space.
Yep. Yeah, I think they came to that conclusion as well and realized, oh wait, let's just put the direct value that we want over top of it. Again, I think that the only piece they're missing is that they need to be able to increment the pointer more efficiently.
Yeah.
Or sorry, increment the data pointer. They need to be able to move the data pointer to the right without having the code pointer move at the same rate. And so once they put that together, they should basically be
So
done.
there are basically two ways you could do this. I think. No.
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 It's
There
a
is one.
fundamental
They need
flaw.
a loop. They
They
need a loop.
have to have a loop.
Yeah, I thought that they could have stuff before the closing bracket, but that's the wrong direct. That's the other way around.
Right. It will be after that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The closing bracket always begins. It just makes the problem worse, in fact, if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, they do need the loop, and this is exactly the type of problem you face here. You're thinking like, oh, I'll just overflow the buffer, and then it's like, oh no, wait, but I'm kind of like, cutting off the branch I'm sitting
Yes,
on while I'm doing
that's
it.
a great analogy. Yeah, it's a great analogy. All right, so there is a chance that we need to give different hints, potentially. Maybe if they're both stuck and they're both not making progress, we need to give them each a relative hint. I hate to do that. I would really prefer to give the same information to both. But if we end up, I think we're still okay on time, and so I don't think we need to immediately do anything. But just something we got to kind of figure out.
Yeah, Recapic was highlighting the limitation of the length. So I think they are still struggling with.
Yeah, I think they need to get past that initial hurdle, and Perfect Root is just really still stuck on this one. But we have time, I think, and honestly, Rekapig could come to this realization and still catch up to Perfect Root. Like that is absolutely still possible here.
Maybe their mental model is already much further. I don't know. They spent a lot more time in IDA, so maybe they figured out the array situation.
Right. Maybe they would better understand that and be able to create that loop to get them past that that point. I mean, I will say though that what Perfect Root is doing makes a lot of sense in terms of analyzing things in the debugger while they're doing it. But what I think what they need to do is to track what the variables that represent the pointers for the data and for the code in the virtual machine itself. I think that would really help them kind of realize this. So what they keep looking at is just the raw, like the stack frames basically, just the raw data where everything lives. They're not looking at the like what is the pointer for the code and what is the pointer for the data and what's happening there. And so I think checking that in their debug script each time would probably make it click for them what they need to do. But we'll see. We did get a question in chat. Actually, I would love to hear both of y'all's opinion on this. Somebody says, "How can I start learning CTF?" What do you guys each recommend?
It's a great question. Yeah, Live Overflow. What's your take here? Let's start there.
Well, I hope my videos help. I have a binary expectation playlist. And other than that, my go-to, because I learned by doing it, I didn't have videos. So recommending the way I learned is through war games like Over the Wire or Pico CTF. I haven't done Pico CTF myself, but that seems to be an amazing resource everybody recommends. And Over the Wire, these are the type of challenges that I really learned with.
Yeah, there's puntable.kr.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there are many of course.
Well, yeah, there's a whole
I would
bunch
definitely
of
say if I were to name like one starting resource, that would be Pico CTF. That's where I would start.
It is really, really well done. Yeah, they do a good job with that.
Starts very easy, very simple. They have like help forums where you can ask about it. And it slowly ramps up. They have a wide range of categories, so it's not only like the ponables that we've seen in this tournament. They have like web challenges, forensics, cryptography, all the stuff. And
all of these popular sites like Pico CTF and Over the Wire, there are lots of solutions online, which you should, you need to find the balance between avoiding the solutions and at some point looking them up. But not just looking them up, working through them in case you choose to look through it. Try to maybe look at it and then close it again and re-implement it. There are various ways how you can learn with. Just don't cheat yourself. But
you could fail on either side of that, right? Like you can never look at the other resources, which is kind of some people stubbornly refuse to like get any outside kind of help, which takes them longer to learn things. And then other people look too early and never force themselves to go through the learning process. So I think that's a great way to describe it.
I mean, the reason why I enjoyed seeing live CTF back in the day was exactly this problem, because I was playing these war games and, doing it kind of my way, and I've never seen anybody else. How do they do it? And then I'm seeing live CTF and they solve a ponable and see how they do their exploit script and everything. That was mind-blowing to me. So yeah, I think it's important to take advantages of all these resources, what they can offer, and combining them all together.
Yeah, I think you're not going to be as fast as the folks we're seeing here today without years and years and years and years of practice. Right?
No,
these are people who have at the top of the field and have really practiced. They play a ton of CTFs, and it takes a lot to kind of get here. So don't be intimidated if you see them doing this. I mean, even like as casters when we're watching them, we're in awe at the speed that some of these people work at.
And like all three of us are like fairly experienced CTF players, but we are still impressed by this thing.
I would say we're mid-tier compared to what we're seeing in front of us, speed-wise, certainly.
And this challenge is like doable. I think both players know that this is doable, and still it takes them a lot of time. And they are super fast, but maybe for an outsider it might seem crazy that you have to spend an hour on something that we would call easy. But it's just the matter of the fact these things just take a lot of iteration, tons of information you need to think about and reason about. Even an easy challenge.
I think we
takes
do
a lot
need to
of
give a
time.
hint to both teams. I think we're going to do the same hint to both. We're going to write 2 bits of information to each one of them.
Yes.
Right? Because we're going to write the same hint on both, so they both get the same hint, but it will contain 2 parts.
Yes.
The first part will...
What about doing like opening bracket, closing bracket, opening brackets as the...
As that one? Actually, no. Maybe we each give them each just half the hint because the problem is if we give
Oh, then we tell them where
Recapex,
they
we're
are.
telling them something. We're telling them something that Perfect Route has already figured out. So we can each tell them one bit of information to get them past where they're currently at.
Right. This is
But
step
in
away
terms
from
of
the rules,
fairness,
right? Yeah.
you know, both hints, wouldn't it be like just put it on the same paper,
So
like
the problem with doing
1
both
and 2?
hints.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with both hints. If you give both hints, you're telling Recapex something that Perfect
Well,
Route already
depends
knows.
on how we tell them, right? If we do, so both of them are struggling with loops, right? So maybe the hint is like maybe you need a loop for.
Have you considered
loop is the
using a
key,
loop?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
have
that-
you
that-
yes,
because
that
this
is
will-
the exact same hint
yes,
for both of them.
yes.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, and I love it. And I think we should definitely. I think we should do that.
So that's a hint. Have
you need to
considered
use a
using-
loop
Yeah.
because they both do right now. They both
Right.
need to use a loop.
We will give the same hint, but they will have.
There's different contexts
Yes.
to it. That's fantastic.
So Jordan is preparing this hint. So there was a question here in chat. What would you guys say is the CTF level of this challenge? So, like, you know, in any normal CTF context, I would call this a fairly easy.
Yeah,
An
100,
An easy
200,
challenge,
yeah.
but for like if you talk the big serious not serious, that sounds so
No, it's not. It's not an
but
easy. It's not an easy beginner challenge. It's an easy
No.
challenge with
in the
like,
context of teams that have been playing CTS for 10 years.
Yes.
In that context, is an easy challenge for anybody. Like even for me, you know, that's a nice challenge. I would spend a couple of hours on probably. It's doable. It doesn't feel impossible, but it's also like still has some trickery you need to figure out.
Right. So we are about to give them the hints now. Jordan is going to go sort that out. Yeah, there's this traditional, so mentioned here, it's like there's someone saying it's a 200. So sometimes you will hear, especially older CTF players, like rating some challenges on a 100 to 500 point scale, which to players who started playing in like the last couple of years doesn't really make sense, because nowadays we typically use the dynamic scoring system. But you know, that's the most common format of CTF is the Jeopardy style, like inspired by the TV show.
Yep.
And in that show, you have like in each category you have 5 questions of like 100, 200, and so on down to 500 points, and that is how CTF challenges used to be scored back in the days. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so the dynamic scoring system that's currently in use makes a lot of sense, because you're sort of letting the one of the main problems, and you've seen it here this weekend, right, is we think something is easy and it turns out to be harder. We think something's harder and it turns out to be easier. Like we generally have gotten it pretty right, but it's impossible to be perfect. You're not going to get exactly the difficulty right because you don't know exactly how people are going to solve things or what they're going to see. And so dynamic scoring.
And what kind of technical problems you run into. I mean, there's solving the challenge thing as one thing, but then maybe you cannot run the binary.
Oh yeah, it turns
maybe
out the
you
emulator
look at
can't
the
run your
wrong
debugger.
thing.
Yep.
Maybe you misinterpret something as a bug that is not a bug, or you know, tons of dead ends you could run into and waste time on.
Yeah, and so all that can factor in. So being able to dynamically score challenges is really nice, and it's essentially the organizers saying, the fewer teams that score this, or maybe the longer time it goes unscored, the more points it's going to be worth, and then the more people that solve it, the less it will be worth, and so it kind of self-balances. And so you gain more points by solving things that fewer other teams solve, which kind of makes sense. And then if something is solved by fewer teams, it's more attractive. More teams want to solve it because it's worth more. And so it's sort of like it really does a good job of letting that problem of the organizers not being able to perfectly gauge the difficulty doesn't really matter, because the team that solves overall the most things that were solved by the fewest other people are going to be the ones with the high score.
Yeah. It also kind of took away the first blood that was often in some CTFs, which is with time zones sometimes a little bit tricky.
Yeah, it's very controversial. And even in like in person, so even like here at DEF CON finals, I'm not a huge fan of first bloods. So that concept is, you know, the first blood means just the first team to score on a particular service. And so there was sometimes a bonus pool of points that could only be, and sometimes there were like even stages of the first 3 teams would get some sort of back off on points to do it. But yeah, especially with things like time zones, it can be really hard to have that work out. The other problem with first bloods is that, or actually, it's some of the reason that people did First Bloods was to try to counteract big teams, because large teams can spread out on many, many different topics, but a few really hard challenges that only an expert could solve. By having First Blood points, you're incentivizing your one particular really good person. So that's actually one of the other things that organizers have to consider is, do they want to let their game be winnable just because somebody has a really, really good team of people who are all pretty good, or do you want to focus a core team of experts?
And these are like topics that people who are in the CTF community or organizing CTFs love to discuss these things about
it's a good bar topic talk.
How do we create fair competition environment where you have these different conflicting aspects, you want it to be accessible for new players while also being competitive for experienced players, and you want to encourage the right type of behavior and so on. So it's definitely not an easy thing.
Coming back at here, what Perfect Route is doing, I mean, they were given the hint now that loops might be the solution to the problem they are having, but as they haven't executed on it, their code still doesn't include any loop thing. They might be set on something. They might believe that they are on the right track and keep going, as far as I can tell.
I'm afraid they either thought the hint applied to the thing that they've already solved, which it kind of did, which is why it was relevant for Rika Pigs, but they might not see how it applies to their current problem.
But no, so actually, I just realized they might not need a loop.
Go on.
Yeah, so...
I mean, if they carefully override the values, right?
No, so you... okay. Everyone try to picture this in your mind now.
We need a whiteboard.
This is where we need a whiteboard. No,
Professor Carl needs to pull up a whiteboard.
Right, but... So you have the data, the program section, it's small, and you have the long data thing here, right? Okay. And then you use a loop here in the program thing to start writing stuff here. So you write data that's coming, and you're writing a brain fact program here. And then right in the beginning here, you have an end bracket, right? So your data pointer will go over here. And then you will stop to this, and this will then jump to the end of your program and jump to the end bracket here. So your instruction pointer is still in the beginning of your new program, while the data pointer is in the middle or later in the
data pointer at the end of
yes,
the payload?
And then they keep going, they do go in tandem, but the data pointer is always racing ahead of the program counter. And then as long as you have enough instructions, because you're gonna need to have to go back and forth a little bit to read and write, and you might need, it might catch up to you. So as long as you space all of that correctly.
And you actually could put some intentional padding there too, right? You could just easily pad that out.
Oh, right. You could put just extra characters and have your data pointer be at the very end. So this is definitely doable without, well...
We think it is.
We haven't
proven it.
Yes.
So it could be doable, but it certainly would be easier to do it that way. So we might just be seeing... so maybe they're fine ignoring that hint and continuing on, which, we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Recapig is still working with the pseudocode, trying to reason about it. There was a comment about a leak, pointer to the leak or something. It's unfortunately just below what they are showing right now. Yeah, it's but essentially it's the same loop, right? The get the pointer while loop and then pointer get, that's the correct thing. I'm now just curious if they leave that bracket then at the end open. This is the read-in loop that Perfect Route also has, but if they figure out the open bracket, it's still unclear.
And I want to switch over to Perfect Route here, because I see what I think they're trying to do, and they have a bug in their code again. You can see these dot plus, and so on in their code. What I think they want here is a dot greater than to dump out. You see, I think there are 8 of them in that, or maybe it's just 6 of them. But the idea here is that you want to use the dot to print the current value, and then you advance the data pointer to the next step. But the plus sign increments the current value that you're pointing at, which is not what you want to do, because then you're just those dots.
But they should see it at least, right? So in the output, if they're watching the output, they'll notice that I'm just getting this incrementing
Yes, and this is why they're getting, you can see in the output there, they're getting NOPQRS, because they're just incrementing the same byte and printing it out over and over again. So they want to change those pluses to greater thans to...
if they're trying to actually dump out.
Good catch, yeah.
you can, you might notice that I've had to program a bit of brainfuck to build this
I
challenge.
would think so.
Yes, this is, not healthy.
It is at least, one of the things I've seen teams do on similar kind of challenges is just do a similar kind of virtual machine but totally different instructions. At least this one is sort of intuitive, like plus and dot and greater
Correct.
than and less than. In fact, I think we even added, if memory serves, we added one instruction here,
extended
correct?
the language with one instruction to make the challenge easier. So in my original solution, because like if you do an override of the return address, you need the function to actually return, right? And the only condition for the loop to break is if the program counter is at exactly 9. So in my original solution, you had to like make something to make the program counter jump all the way back to the beginning. But we decided that we get rid of that and we instead add another instruction, which is the caret character, and that will just
It's a little up arrow, so it points
exactly.
up.
So like
Yeah.
instead of going left or right, to go up
And it just
to go
exits
out.
out. Yeah. So, but it is nice that this is at least kind of intuitive. These are just random letters. I feel like, well, actually, if there were random letters, what you probably would see was them using more of those kind of macro, the helpers, define a variable that what's called inc or dec or next or prev or something like that, and you'd use those in line instead of the raw characters directly.
Right. Oh, you just.
Oh,
yes. Go ahead.
I was just seeing in Recapic they figured out the unmatched bracket.
Oh, let's switch over there.
Uh-oh,
You
we might
see
have a
here
couple behind.
on line 60, there's a comment unmatched bracket.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yes, I saw it as well.
Excellent.
Nice.
Oh, very, very good.
And I also wanted to point out over on the Perfect Root site, you can see that they changed all the pluses to greater than characters in the.
yes,
They
so
got it now.
they're both making good progress. This is fantastic.
Oh, that's really great. So we can see. Do we think that Recapic can catch up to this? That's the exciting thing here. Just trying to keep an eye on both teams here.
So back to the chat question, there's a little bit of discussion going on about dynamic scoring and whether it's a bad signal for beginners, and that's true. You can't actually, one of the downsides is if every challenge starts at 200 points or 100 points and it's just based on however many people solve it, that you find the ultimate difficulty. It's hard as a new person to know where to start. A lot of CTFs will kind of give some hints. They'll say an expected value, or they will say they'll have some other difficulty ranking independent of the points. And so that way the organizers can say, we think this is hard. Hey, it turns out it was easy. There was a bug that they didn't intend. It ends up being easy and the points drive low. So you can see that signal afterwards and go, well, I wasn't going to try it, but look at all the people solving it. Maybe I'm going to try it now.
a lot of the like long-running or like notoriously difficult CTFs sometimes have like a category that they call like baby or like a
Babies
tag.
first, or newbie challenges.
So that they would say like, okay, we have a lot of difficult challenges, but we have selected a few here that we think are going to be
good just for people starting
yes.
out.
Also, you can just wait a bit wait a couple of hours into the CTF and see like which ones are being solved. Yes.
But you don't even have to do that, because when I play CTFs like this and I try to find a challenge that is easy, I don't need to wait until the points are degraded. I look at the first few solves of the challenge, and if it's teams I know, like the big, the top CTF time teams that solved it, I know, okay, that's probably hard. But if it's like teams I don't know, then I assume, oh, this is doable.
That's a
And I go
really
for that
interesting
one.
signal.
Yeah, there's a lot of like metagaming that's been developed over the years.
All right, so we're still seeing Perfect Root is tweaking and tuning. I haven't seen. Okay, so they're inputting in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the code at the payload there, and like the structure is all correct. Like they're dumping out.
Yeah.
They're rewinding the data pointer. Then they. Oh no, they have another bug. Do you see the the last back arrow needs to go forwards instead, because they're running over the return address to print it out. Then they're rewinding the data pointer, but then they need to go forwards again. So that last comma less than should be comma greater than.
Evil.
Yeah. So there are these small things.
And I will say, this is a good example where actually building your program a little more structured, where you didn't use comma, period, and you actually just instead did something more obvious, might have helped the mental cue of like, no, what do I intend to do here? Am I trying to go forward or backward or up or down or increment or decrement? But we'll see. So I'm looking forward. If Recapig catches up again, or Recapig, this absolutely could be a match again.
Yeah, I mean, Recapic is definitely catching up again, because Perfect Root has been at the stage now for quite a while and is a bit I don't know, like the progress hasn't been as in as big leaps. I feel like on Perfect Root side. I mean, they definitely have a better understanding of it, but you know, they are not close to solving it. I I think.
Oh no, you said the magic words. As soon as we predict that, they tend to blow through and solve it. It's like
Right.
saying, "Oh, surely it won't rain today," because I just washed my car. Um,
Yeah, maybe you should predict again that Rick
Yeah.
Pick is behind.
This is Ricky Pig is real bad. There's no way they can catch up. And then 2 minutes later, winner pops up.
Yeah, we have. There's a lot of caster's curse going on this
That's
tournament.
right. That's right. I don't want to unduly influence the game here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what are they looking? They're dumping out. They're printing what they believe to be a leak. Okay, so they're verifying a leak. They think they've got.
Yes, and you see
they just missed it.
yeah,
No,
it's
they
that.
just missed it. They still need to change that to a greater than.
Yes. So the other way you can do it is you can skip the rewinding and just type the address in backwards. But this
Yeah.
is like an easier mental model. I think Perfect Root is like very close
I
to
think
solving
that they're
them. Yeah,
actually.
like I think they only need to flip that less than to a greater than, and then
and they're basically done.
Yeah, they're basically
Right.
done.
Then and they'll still have to actually do the overwrite, but they've got a leak and they've got the address and they've got the difference, and then it's
Yeah.
write 4 bytes and return. The only last thing would be, do they see the escape? If they don't see the exit, or sorry, the exit operation,
Right.
they might not be able. That might be another stumbling block.
All right, because they might be. This is another danger, right, of like abstractions and mental models, right? They might say like, "Oh, this is brainfuck,"
And
then
just
they
not
just
even look at it
no,
again, right?
but and they're just not noticing that we have this extra. Because then, if they do need to rewind the instruction pointer thing like all the way to the back, that's a little bit annoying because you need to kind of shift. The way you would do it is you have like another unmatched. You have a more like closing brackets, and then it will search backwards for corresponding opening brackets, and you do that like multiple times and stuff. It's a bit annoying.
Yeah. So let's see. What are we leaking over here on Perfect Root? We've got.
So yeah, it's really about like working that debugger and like seeing that they're not overriding what they think they're overriding. Yes, so I want to switch over to Rika Pigs because I think they had the debugger up, looking into the code. I want to see what payload they are currently sending. It's they have progress clearly, and now they're looking at. I'm trying to see what part of the code this is. It's the printing. So they're looking at the print, the dot operator, and I'm not entirely sure what the question they are trying to answer here right now. So this is hard to tell.
Yeah, so we're internally, we're debating right now. Do we think they can solve it? Are we going to be needing another hint, or do we need to switch to a sudden death? It is the way that we've been handling that transition is if we hit our time limit, which we are actually coming up on the original end, but because this match has an extra gap, we might go up and basically ask the team and say, do you want to move to sudden death, or do you want to switch this? I really don't want to switch to sudden death, though. We've seen what happened last time.
Yeah.
I will say, though, our sudden death is real sudden on this one. So if we go to it, we're pretty sure that it would be solvable. But certainly you would rather have the teams be able to finish this out. And we do have a little bit extra. We built a gap in time here between the semifinals and the finals. So I'm trying to figure out what Perfect Root's doing. They're rerunning the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
That reminds me of how I play CTF. Just hoping that it changes.
There was like the same thing that Falk said yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I know it's not going to do any good, I keep rerunning it. Now they think they've got to be doing this thinking that there's some like randomness that's impacting it.
In the meantime, I can give you a score update on the the main scoreboard for the DEF CON CTF.
We just had a seg fault, by the way. There was a seg fault.
MMM in first place, tightly followed by Katsubin. It's the same top fight as we've seen multiple times before, I think. And then we have a Water Paddler in third place. Fairly close as well. So there's definitely a lot of things can happen, and all of this stuff has not factored in the points from this live CTF. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Perfect Root, who is in this match, they are currently in fifth place. But if they would win this, or like even go on and win the finals, that would bring them almost up to first place. Almost.
I mean, they wouldn't let them jump. It might let them jump Katsubin, but it wouldn't let them jump Maple for sure.
Yes, but they will also get some points from the tournament.
Yeah, because MMM is going to be getting some points, having made it to the semifinals.
Right.
How long will the main CTF run? When will that be over?
It runs for another 2 hours, so it's really getting there.
Yeah, these scores are probably not going to shift much. And if you're not familiar, so just like a real quick summary of what the final format is for a DEF CON CTF. It's an attack defend CTF. All the teams are given essentially a number of systems that number of processes that are running on a system of theirs. They have to defend it by patching those binaries, and they have to attack their opponents by finding vulnerabilities, creating exploits, and sending them against everybody else. And so it's a zero-sum game. You sort of start with like a certain amount of points, and then as someone steals from you, you lose a point, they gain a point. And so what you happen is you see everyone started, I think, at 20,000 points or 16,000 points, something like that. And then they're spreading out. And so the top teams steal from the lower teams. And so the lowest team now is down at 14,000 points, and the highest team is up at 22,000 points. So you don't start at 0 and then build up. You start kind of in the middle, and then some go up and some go down with this particular scoring method. And so that does mean, though, that there's not a lot of like big shifts, wild shifts, because there's only so many kind of points available. And so it tends to be harder to come from behind at the very last minute, although depends on how close you are. And there's one new solve on a service that no one else has done can start to swing it, because the graphs will shift in terms of the rate of scoring. Go ahead, Lavro.
Yeah, we should look at Perfect Root. They were actually, I think, confident about something that the code did. They had this, you see it now uncomment, Echo Pwned. They were running it, which looked like they were checking if they got the code execution. I think they are pretty close.
Yeah, I still think that they are missing that, like,
unless they're doing something different than we expect. I think you're right.
Yeah, they can see they're trying to submit.
I mean, they did uncommented again, commented it out again, but it was in there, and they had it running for a bit. They had a, do you see they have a while true loop? They were thinking that something is, as you said, that something is random a little bit and weird. So they were running it in a while true loop, just trying it over and over again.
Yeah, and they had an off by what? There we go. That's what they were looking for. That's what they were looking for, because they had a 90 at the end. They were off by 1.
Oh, no. That's now they have it. They have the return. There was top of the stack return address. They
were off by 1, but they manually added that extra right over there to the end, and so not the most reliable of exploits.
Yeah, that's.
Uh-oh. Well, there have been, so depending on the challenges, there was a situation where you didn't always see your output. And so if you try to do an echo pwn and detect on it, I know that at least some of the earlier challenges.
No, it was just the submitter program for example.
Oh, it's just a submitter.
This should not be an issue here. Also, they're just running this locally, right?
Oh no, I think it was specifically the command injection with the backticks. That was what it was. Envol.
Right, because then you needed to do the semicolon.
Right, the backticks, you wouldn't see your output. So I think though in this case that this is still solid. If they actually get this, they should be right. So I'm curious, is that 0069, is that them calling the win function? Was that the offset of the?
I'm a little bit unsure, but like to me
or
it
looked.
Did
they maybe is Pi enabled?
Pi is enabled, but they are leaking the.
Oh yeah, they have a leak. Right.
They have a leak, but the thing is that.
Yes,
Yeah.
in fact, Pi is enabled because you can actually see a recipes literally just now pulled up checksec.
Right,
Wait
we
a
just
minute.
missed it on screen, but they
Yeah.
were looking at checksec and they saw the Pi.
They
You can see
literally
it
just
again here.
highlighted it in their
Yeah, they
mouse.
looked like
Yeah.
annoyed by
They're
it.
like, oh no, there is Pi. So I mean, again, it is solvable, but that does mean that they can't just hard code something and win.
Right.
But come on, we did get them a win function. So
But
at
if
least-
that's a concern for Recapig at this moment, they feel like they are getting close to like tweaking some
Yeah, that's-
addresses maybe as well.
that's a good point. They may actually. Yeah, I think we're really close here from Perfect Root, and it is still possible that Recapig is able to, depending on what the state of their payload is. I'm really curious to kind of post-mortem analyze this later and figure out why that like many runs on the Perfect Root side is what part of this is not a reliable, or what are they analyzing when they're running it like a million times in a row?
Or they change it out to remote.
Yeah, they're just gonna throw it.
Yeah, they are confident that it's really just a little bit of randomness that's the problem.
And I'm not sure what randomness is coming into play that would be causing them trouble.
Yeah.
Are they maybe just partially? No, they have a leak.
It looked like they were partially overriding. You can see
It
that
is
they
the-
took the leak and they sent back everything except the last,
Oh,
yeah.
they're brute forcing. That's what they're doing. Is they're brute forcing the win relative address? I bet that's exactly what they're doing. They're gonna just
But
that's
why
it.
are they not?
just
Okay.
writing the exact difference, like read the full value and then
Yeah.
change it relatively. I mean, I don't know why, but I think that's what they're doing. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure
Is,
that
is,
they're
is the brainfuck program in main? Because then the return pointer would be. Would that?
Oh,
not
is this
point
an
into-
issue? They are not like.
I'm not so sure if I misremember this, but does it not point into libc start main, and so that points into libc code and not?
Yeah. So
But maybe I'm also saying something completely dumb.
that
I'm not
might
sure.
be.
yeah. Actually, no.
Oh,
No.
that
They
might
couldn't-
be the
they're-
issue.
They're not brute forcing anything because they're not trying different. Yeah, I mean,
That
brute
might
forcing
be-
the last two bytes doesn't make sense.
So I
because
realize
last
that
two
this
bytes-
might be the issue.
What is the issue?
That the return address is not to like since this is running. Is this running in the main function, and then like the return address is not it's to libc, and not within the program, so they don't have a leak in that sense. They would need to leak some other value.
So your solution then was it because it incremented or decremented it instead
No,
of-
because I used a much more complicated solution before we simplified the challenge. But my complicated solution still worked on the simplified
Yeah.
challenge, but we didn't verify that the simplified.
What was the complicated solution for correctly overriding the return address? Like what was the your
Well,
payload
it
did?
involved a ROP chain.
Oh, interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
But
Sorry, we've got a little bit of we've got a couple
No.
of bad cables we've been fighting.
yeah,
So if we lost the stream there for a second.
I really relate to big roots. This is something I
yeah.
know
Yeah.
pretty well. You have your script and you just keep running your thing, looking at memory values, just I don't know, running in circles a bit.
yes. I'm trying to think about whether they could leak some other value that's within the. I mean, they totally could. They just need to find some value on the stack
Yeah.
that's within the program, right?
Isn't libc main also like a function that gets as a parameter the address of main, which might then also be
Right,
somewhere on the
it has
stack?
to be. So like
or-
the one of the address, it will be on the stack
Yeah.
just a bit further away.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
then
yeah.
then
If-
maybe it's not the bug that they had the less than signed.
Maybe they're overwriting.
But maybe so it was just that they needed to go a little bit further down the stack and then they go up again. So maybe that's not a bug at all. Maybe we've just misunderstood.
Yeah, they
what
were
they're trying.
intentionally leaking the main pointer not as a return address,
Right.
but as an argument.
And then they want to. Yeah,
and then
that's
they're
very
writing that
reasonable.
back out. So then the question is like, well, so what is the bug? Like, what is Perfect Root stuck on now? Then, if that's the case, they should be able to overwrite the return address with that main pointer plus the offset to the win instead, right?
Yeah.
Which should work. I mean, that should absolutely be a valid solution where it will put them back into main, put them back into the win. So
And
then
we
it's
can
just a matter of
see
fixing
them.
the bugs.
Yeah. So. Oh, this is so.
I know.
Nerve-wracking.
It's imperfect knowledge on all sides. And let's just
Yeah.
double check back to
Oh, look.
reconfig. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because they are working here with some addresses as well.
Second prog address, leak address,
Slow
pointer
and
address.
steady
Yeah.
might still be valid here. So yeah, let's take a look at them for a while and see.
Now
if we can get some
pointer
state.
should point to end of second program, right?
Which is a good understanding. Which maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if Perfect Root had that understanding where the pointer or the data pointer and the instruction pointer are pointing to of the brainfuck program.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting to see the completely different approaches here to the challenges from the different teams.
Oh, they had. Okay, so I'm just keeping an eye on Perfect Root. They actually had. They had win. Is that a backtrace that they're showing, or is that just this is simply they were?
Are you saying that they did have the address of the win function?
Win itself showed up in one of these traces. So right there, it's flickering. Right there, I think they're just doing a backtrace. I can't even tell. I think that's a stack, right? Right there at the bottom of the Jeff, right there. So
Right, that's the bottom
yeah,
is
so the stack view. They showed win showed up on there. They
Oh.
had win in the stack trace, and they were hitting an exception earlier. So something was blocking them from returning directly.
Yeah, because I mean they don't have in their program that they're running, right? They don't have anything that returns, but I've seen them hit the return instruction, so I'm a little bit unsure what's going on there.
Oh, are they? Is that that's what they're brute forcing? They're brute forcing the behavior to try to get an exit that's clean instead of just calling exit.
Oh,
Is that what they're trying to get around? If they literally just called exit,
that's I mean could be. Oh wow, that's
that might be what they're fighting. It may because again we don't see them calling the exit instruction.
no. Yeah, exactly. So they should be able to just do that.
I mean, I think we need to tell both of them because we haven't seen neither team
Oh
use
right,
them.
yeah.
I think we
So
need to give
let's
them the
add a
hints
hint for the.
because I think we need to let both of them know. And this is probably going to be the last hint. If we can't get it here soon, we're going to just
Yeah.
have to unfortunately go to sudden death. But let's see if we can.
Oh.
Oh no, we can't give that hint. We can no longer give that hint. I just saw that. Yeah.
So
because
let's switch over
yeah.
to. Let me switch over here to Reykjavik. You see that
Interesting.
they have. They are calling the L just, so they're padding their code with the exit instruction. So they are very aware of
Yeah.
that they can use
They
this
know
to exit.
exactly
So
what that's going to
if
do.
these two players would combine their
I know.
knowledge,
They each have half of an exploit.
yeah,
Whi-
then-
Which is a good example of real CTF with teams. They would complement each other so well, and they would
Absolutely.
have solved this in a fraction of the time now.
Yeah, and that's why
Yes.
playing with a team is so much more fun. They catch your mistakes, they look over your shoulder, and they point out, "Hey, did you really mean to do a plus or a greater than?" Or and
right,
it is so much more enjoyable to do a CTF with somebody else.
right. And the thing is here that Perfect Root, if we go back to them, they will not notice this because they are not even looking at the code anymore. They're
No,
just in the.
no,
They're
they've
looking
been
at the exploit. They're looking at
Yeah,
the debugger.
yep.
They're completely missing that there is this extra instruction.
What do you think they try to do? Like disconnect, and then that makes main return because it exits out of the brainfuck loop, or how do they even reach the return?
I honestly think they're flailing, and I think they don't have a clear plan, and are just trying a bunch of different stuff to see if they can get it to call system. Hold on, what is this? With main stopped. Wait.
Oh, there was a red. Look, they
Yeah.
overrode main red. They add red, and
Yeah.
it's pointing into win. But now
there an
they are
exception
executing
here?
win.
What are they? Yeah, this should just. Oh no, pop RVP. Pop RVP is going to pop the pointer to win off, right? Because win is on the stack.
No, that's
Or
well.
is that? Oh no, that's actually the call stack. not the
I did
actual stack.
pause
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the they were at the red of main and it pointed into win. So somehow they reached that red apparently.
Yeah, are they having? Yeah, they're having trouble with the call to system. Are they accidentally? No, I don't know. Yeah, so they shouldn't have to worry about the arguments because Win sets all that up for
Yeah.
them. But if they're triggering, if they're breaking in there, what is breaking that's causing?
Are they trying to do like a small ROP thing here instead of just?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they've actually switched over to doing.
So in one frame when I paused, they were at the return of main, and so the Jeff output showed where it would continue, and it pointed into win, but at the end of win, at the return of win. So
Oh, okay. So they're like off
but-
by a few bytes. Then.
yeah, but that was just one frame where I paused on, and then on a consecutive one they were actually stepping through win. So. So I don't know what changed, like why suddenly it was at the start of win, sometimes not. Maybe that is the randomness they are observing, and we haven't just noticed that.
Right.
Um,
I want to switch back over to Pig a little bit.
Go ahead, I'll keep an eye on this.
And look at how, I mean, you can't quite see it. Now you can see it, like how beautiful their exploit script is here, where they have created these abstractions for the instructions, and they're giving them meaningful names instead of these random symbols. And you can see how they're slowly building this up, adding the comments and going very methodical in this. And, you know, they're slowly catching up, importing time, not sure why, but maybe, oh, okay, they're just going to do a short sleep here, it seems. And I'm not sure exactly how far, but you can see they have the initial stager with the unmatched bracket. They have the second stage here with padding out with the exit instruction and stuff. So you see they're really getting there.
Perfect Druid is, you don't have to switch back, but I'm just watching them. They're in the bowels of GDB, debugging system, trying to figure out.
Oh, is this like?
Trying to figure out like in the libc, and they're getting like. Yeah, like they're in like POSIX spawn action currently. Like there's some other exception that's being triggered. I don't know what has been corrupted or what's changed.
they must be really frustrating that they start looking through that.
Yeah. See, we had a question what we want to do here. If we want to go to, if we're going to give them a hint, or.
I mean,
I kind of still want to.
I feel like we do have a little bit of time. We don't want to eat into all of our spare time before our final match. We want to give the team, whoever wins, does want a little bit of a break to flush their head and not go straight into it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we do have to cut this off at some point and switch to a sudden death. This just, yeah, this still feels like something is inches away. I mean, I don't know what in the world is even blocking this, because we're seeing the win function is being called. Like they're calling win.
Could it be some like, have they like messed up the stack pointer in such a way that there's like stack misalignment, or?
I don't know, and they certainly don't either, given the time the debugger being sent.
Oh,
so
now they're going for one gadget? Yeah.
So they're going to try to avoid our win function and instead just go directly for. Now, did your original one use the win function as well, or was your original solution avoiding it too?
No, my original solution did not use the win function.
Yeah, so it may be that just by avoiding it, they're going to end up getting a win here. So that is a possibility, but I just don't know how long it's going to take them to do that. And then the question is Pig going to sort of slow and steady and be able to catch up, or do we just need to call this one and move on?
Actually, now that you mention the misaligned stack, I do remember writing a challenge for the Cybersecurity Challenge Germany, like a basic pwnable, and there was a win function, I believe, and when you solved it, there was a problem with misaligned stack because system or something in that code is expecting stuff to be aligned, but there was a pretty clear exception that when you Google it, you would find the information about that, and the solution, you actually had to do a one basically pop red to align it again, and then the win function did work. Now that you mentioned this, I remember that.
Which though
Yeah.
isn't really an option when you're working from an interpreter like this, right? Where you sort of have this different environment. So it's not clear what that would even look like because they have a single overwrite of the return address. They don't.
No,
get
no. I
multiple
mean, they can
gadgets, right?
overwrite they can overwrite a lot of stuff if they want. Like they could.
Yeah,
write
but it would be they'd have to find the next return address on the stack and then go overwrite that as well.
No. They could replace.
Oh,
the
it's just two in a row. Yeah, that's
exactly.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're right,
They could do that. Definitely.
Yeah, that's actually
And since they have a leak, they can use that to just find a ret gadget.
Well, they already had the libc. Yeah, the
Yeah,
libc leak was
exactly.
already essentially there.
Oh, here, let's switch over here again to Recapig because I just saw on the terminal, I saw the stack smashing detected message, which means that they have
Might be a
overwritten
come from behind again, yeah.
and not only have they overwritten the return address, they have triggered the return because otherwise the
That's
stack
right.
smashing
Well, we
detected.
knew that they had those exits because they did that padding, and so they had
Yes,
that part
yes.
of it right away. Which again, I don't see that at
Oh,
all.
so might we? Is it possible that we might see the a big catch-up moment here from
tortoise in the
Recapig?
hare? This might be it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a move apps instruction that doesn't like unaligned addresses, which happens in system. I have a video on that solving that basic pwnable challenges, and I had this problem. Yeah, you get a sec fault at address 0, a very weird exception. And then you look at what instruction caused the exception, and it's a move apps instruction. And when you Google that, you then find move apps unaligned address, and then so that might be the issue here, that the win function is just not callable.
Well, no, my suspicion is it is callable if you exit cleanly, right? So my suspicion is because that brute force that we're seeing from Perfect Root, I think is an artifact of how they're getting their return out, right? I think that's what's potentially getting it misaligned. Whereas if they were to actually just let the interpreter cleanly exit out, that they would.
And here I want to say, and we see here on Recapig's screen that you see that right, and you saw the stack smashing detected there. So they have been just writing a bit too far on the stack. I'm not entirely sure if this is an intentional smash to just verify that they are doing the right thing, or if it's an accidental smash because they misaligned some of their data. That still remains to be seen. So
yeah, I think we are going to have to certainly go to sudden death here pretty soon. I think in certainly the next 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
If we're not real close, because we don't have confidence yet that we don't know for certain if the exit cleanly would solve it for Perfect Root, and we don't know. And even the things that they're changing now, this one gadget attempt might be a little ambitious for the time that's left, right? So we're still trying to figure that out.
Yes. So the question is, do we ask them, or do we just go to sudden death?
I don't think we give them an option.
Yeah.
If we should get them as long as we can, and once we hit the moment where we can't go any further, because we just have to get on to queue up for the finals, then we're gonna have to just cut it off.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we're there yet. We're seeing a one gadget attempt. Oh man, I want them to do it. I
really want to see this.
Yeah. So how's it looking over there on Recapig?
Yeah. So Recapig, they are inspecting the stack here in the debugger. And you can see here their program, the padding that they filled out. Oh, so okay. So since they're doing this padding thing, right? Then they are. I suspect that the smashing was because of they miscalculated exactly how long their padding and stuff should be, right? So we'll see if they can kind of fix that alignment up, or the size of their payload, and then to move on to actually controlling the The overwrite is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's. I mean, for a while I was really like, okay,
I thought we had
Perfect
it
Root
easy.
is gonna,
I
Perfect
thought
Root
they
is
were
gonna
they
have
were
this.
blowing right through it. And then it's been,
I'm not so sure anymore. Like this could really go either way.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think I'm not confident. I'm gonna say we got again 3 more minutes to like be sure someone's gonna solve it, or we're just gonna have to switch over to our sudden death, because we do want to give them at least a good 10-20 minutes to solve sudden death, and then go to the bathroom and come back for the finals, because we don't want to have to.
Yes.
And the finals, unfortunately, we have to have enough time for that, because the scores have to be in. We have to announce the winner. It has to go into the DEF CON CTF final
Right.
score. So we do have some hard limits that we're unfortunately working against, where
Right.
this we need a winner to be able to allocate these points.
The good thing is that the teams can choose to send another player for the finals.
That's a great point. They were not required to send the same player.
Yes.
So it is entirely possible that someone decides, hey, I'm burnt out. You got to send somebody else. That last CTF ruined me. So.
Do you know how the other teams have done this so far? Have they sent other people in these subsequent
So far, only
rounds,
MMM.
or-
I believe. So the total that any team would have to send is for 4 rounds. So it's not an overwhelming amount spread out over these 3 days, right? And so it's not too
Right.
crazy. And so we've only seen so far MMM. I think is the only one that I've noticed.
Yeah, they swapped between
swapped.
Robert and Jinmo.
For their rounds. So between their first and second and third, there was a switch in and switch out. But everyone else seems to have been sending the same person.
Do you think the players did this voluntarily, or do you think within the team they had to throw a coin?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was.
It seems it has varied.
I do know some other teams specifically said they were kind of like picking coins because multiple people wanted to go, or and they had to kind of pick out who was available.
Yeah.
Oh, wanted to go is positive. I was more worried that they would feel uncomfortable.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to switch over to sudden death. I hate to do this. Of course, we want to see them solve it, but at this point, I'm just seeing some hesitation on Perfect Root. It doesn't seem like Alex has kind of a sense of what it's going to take to finish this out. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and let each team know that we're switching to sudden death because we want to give them a break between the final round. And we will, just give me a second, I'm going to take off my gear, I'm going to let them know, and we'll count that one in shortly.
Right. So.
Yeah. That's unfortunate to see. Obviously, we would want them. We would want to see a finish, a working exploit, but it's understandable. The schedule requires it. And of course, they are also missing from the main CTF, right? I mean, it's now the final hour, kind of the big CTF, maybe.
It is
But,
almost. There's 1.5 hour
yeah.
left of the main CTF.
So it's not like that they can do that much, but still they are missing from their main team, right?
Yes.
For quite a long time now.
And this is like a choice the teams have to make, right? Like who do they send for this? Like to balance that, like where do they think their most skilled players are of the most use?
Sudden death. This is sudden death. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I wasn't giving you a choice. I was telling you what we're doing.
Right. Sorry, there was some. We were just preparing for the sudden death part here, so we're just getting them set up, swapping out the challenge, and giving them a new simple challenge. And this challenge is going to be super simple. I mean, I barely know if we're going to have the time to like commentate on what's going to go on here, because I think we're picking our simplest challenge in the stash. Yeah, it's going to be rough. Okay, so Jordan is over with the players explaining the
There's somebody in
situation.
chat asked what sudden death is. This is when the weapons come out. And,
Yes. No,
this is when we see first blood.
right, exactly. No, so the sudden death is that we stop the current challenge, and we should have people not walking past the camera. But anyway, sudden death. We stop the current challenge. We swap it out. Completely new challenge. This new challenge is supposed to be super simple. It's gonna be like it's gonna be fast. It's starting now. And then they have the new challenge, and they're downloading it. We're switching over to the split view. They're downloading the challenge, yeah, they're gonna look at it. And this is gonna be a slaughter. Is this the format string thing? Jordan? Hello?
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Still getting set up back in. I actually don't know which sudden death we had lined up for this one.
Right. So we can switch over to to Reykjavik and see. They just look at it here, and it's about inputting some passwords here. And you need to input your logins. You can see that you need to log in with admin and correct horse battery staple. The classic
XKCD password joke.
Right, yes. And then, is it just reading in shellcode and executing it? Is that what I saw?
I'm pretty sure that, yeah, this one is like meant to be pure speed.
Yes.
Perfect route is already opening Google.
Right, we have some shellcode in there. And they are... Wow, this is stressful. So I think they send admin password or a username password and then send shellcode and it will be executed. So let's see who can do this first. We can see them copy pasting the username. So we can see here. I'm gonna switch over to Reykjavik because you can see very clearly in their exploit script. Actually, you can see it clearly in both of them. Oh, this is gonna be rough. I really hope the flag submission thing is...
the LS didn't work.
No,
right.
Yeah, over
Perfect
on Perfect
Route
Route was...
Right, switch over to Perfect Route and see there's something not working with their... I think they need, so the F-read, they might have to pad out the
Is there a new
the
line
shellcode to be the size of the, input.
There we go. Yep, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing the padding coming in now.
Yeah, they're padding it out. And then they're sending it, and will it be? Yes,
There it is. There it is.
Yes.
There's a shell.
There it is. We have a winner. Congratulations to Perfect Route.
Oh my God.
That was brutal. That was very, very harsh.
Yeah.
We got to go on a break. We got to get back to the teams to talk to them real quickly and line up the final round. We'll be here in 30 minutes with the finals. I look forward to seeing you back here then.
See ya.
Thanks.
going.
Hello and welcome back to our final event of a very long weekend. We are super excited to be here. We're super excited to be looking at the best two teams. Are you ready? You said you were nervous a second ago.
Oh yeah, I mean this is like the final match. Like this is when it all comes together.
So we've had Perfect Root, we've had Starbug. They've both battled through 3 other rounds to make it here to this final event. And we're going to get the game started to get the competitors are nervous. They're ready to go. For context, the game is over. The DEF CON CTF itself is ended. This is the final bit of points that anyone can get in this event before it's going to be tallied for the awards ceremony later today. So let's do it. Everybody, we're going to kick it off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! And let's let them rip. So let's take a look at the teams and what they're up to. We're going to need a reset on our capture card over here. Capture card reset, please.
Yes.
We've got one that's not working, but
in the
we'll get that
meantime,
fixed.
we'll just go to Perfect Root and watch what they're doing. And we can see that they're immediately going into IDA to look at the code of this
we've
challenge.
got different themes at least. So now we've got our black and white themes.
Yes.
Both doing the exact same thing, looking at both of their systems and popping open their default template scripts. What is the name of this challenge that we're looking at today?
So we're looking at the F in the stack, right?
We actually had several challenges and internally named F in the stack.
Yes, it was
Only
F in
one
the
of them.
stack and another F in the stack. We changed the name of that one, but this is the original F in the stack. It is.
I mean, so it's a reference, obviously, to the meme, like F's in the chat, but on the stack.
Right.
So does it actually mean that we're looking at like a stack-based buffer overflow, or is that just kind of a troll on the name?
Yeah, not entirely sure. We have a menu here with 4 different options. There's like you can load a file. What else was there? And then you can when you do that, there's like a file name. There's a call to fstat or lstat actually. So yeah.
That was interesting actually. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So that you said it was fstat or lstat. But if we look closely, let's let that come up again. So again, they're moving so fast. But if we notice, there's a call to one of them, but the error message says the other.
Right. And that's
so that is interesting.
Interesting.
This is the kind of thing as of there we go. We're getting some Fs. Thank you.
Nice.
Chat. Love to see it. There we go. So Fs in the chat, 4 Fs in the stack. Well, maybe we do that once it gets solved.
Yeah. Exactly. Once they actually beat it. Right now the challenge is standing tall.
Yeah. It's a good idea. And by the way, the reference there to DEF CON CTF is canceled. DEF CON is canceled is very much a meme. If you've not been to DEF CON before, every year there's a joke that it is canceled. Excellent. Glad to see Live Overflow in chat as well. Looking forward to hi everybody on Live Overflow's Twitch stream. I know he's been watching all weekend long with us, even on the times where he wasn't chatting with us live.
Right. So we've had him as a commentator, as one of our 3 guest commentators. We had one person from Nautilus Institute, Lightning, here on site, and we had Gamoso Labs and Live Overflow calling in remotely. It's been really adding to the.
In fact, we might want to, if we can get the title below our names fixed, we'll get that corrected.
Awesome. But
super
in the meantime,
minor, but yeah.
We can go to see Starbucks. You can see that they are just dumping out etc password. So you can see here in the menu, they can load a file, they can print the loaded file, they can unload the last file, and they have an extremely convenient call RAX.
Oh, well, that's a nice option. That was very handy of someone.
Right. So I would assume this means that you want to control the value in RAX.
We're looking at reading of proc self mem, proc self. So we're looking at interactions. Okay,
Yeah,
I was freaked out for a second. I thought they had a shell instantly.
Right, no.
It
looked like they were looking at proc self ft0, so like opening standard in as a file. You can do a bunch of
interesting
trickery
things
stuff
with that.
there.
Yep.
They were looking at proc self mem, also an interesting file. The whole proc like pseudo file system is pretty interesting in a lot of these challenges.
Yeah, absolutely, it comes in very handy. So yes, the reference there, Avery is confirming DEF CON CTF, the main CFTF did end a little bit early. I don't know the full story, but we heard from the Nautilus Institute that there was some issues that they had to close down 1 hour early than expected. So normally the intended end of the CTF this year was 2 p.m., but they ended out slightly early, which means this is the only game left. This is the only points that people can be getting, and we've only got 2 teams that are in a running. We've got Perfect Root and we've got Team Starbug, and this could have this definitely could change the destiny of Perfect Route in terms of making it into the top teams here. I don't think it's going to make them into first. Having seen the scoreboard right before it went dark, it probably wouldn't get them all the way there. Although it is worth noting, there was actually an incident earlier on. One of the things that happens a lot with these kind of CTFs is you're really worried about like fair play and what's appropriate and inappropriate. And there was, unfortunately, one of the members on Perfect Route was fork bombing one of the other boxes. Maybe they weren't aware of kind of the CTF culture, and when their team caught it, they specifically like said, "Hey, we're sorry. One of our team members didn't know this was against the rules." Yeah. They were penalized a little bit for that. Between that penalty plus the amount that they could get by winning, if they win this, that would have maybe been enough to bring them all the way into first from that fourth position that they were in. But I think with that penalty, they would probably end up somewhere in the second place range, even if they win. So probably not going to upset the entire competition just as a result of this event. But
it's going to shuffle around.
It's going to change the standings, yeah. No matter what happens, in fact, even if it ends up being Team Starbug, it's going to jump them way up in the board.
Right. We should remember also that it's not only the winner who gets points. Like there is like a point distribution for all the teams in this tournament, and as I said, like we'll probably not at this point change the winner, but it will shuffle around the standings. I want to go and look at Starbugs, because I was seeing some interesting stuff there. They're trying to play around with the file system, like what interesting file could they be looking at? If I remember correctly, like the intended solution involves like a symlink or something. Like you're supposed to open a symlink and then like close it to get some kind of uninitialized memory or something like this. Is this?
I know that yeah, I've heard that it is involved with symlink, and that's the difference between that LStat and that FStat. Call. So that's
right. Link stats, file stats. I was actually gonna ask about what the difference there, as I, did not remember this.
So the intended there, I believe, is an FStat, which if you call it on a symlink, will give you the file it's pointed at, the ultimate actual file. But if you use LStat, you're going to get just the symlink information. Right. So that's, I think, the difference. And one of the changes, again, we've talked a lot about how getting the difficulty right on these can be an issue. One of the things that we did during testing was realize, hey, let's make this a little bit more obvious that this is intended. And so that's why the error message that was in there just said before, stat failed. And now it says specifically FStat failed.
Right.
But that was, as you said, that earlier when you saw the call, that's not the function that's called.
Right.
So hopefully
it's a little bit subtle, but it's a hint.
It's a hint that's kind of baked into the challenge. Hopefully it's sufficient and it gets them what they need. We'll see. I still love the name of that menu choice too. Extremely convenient call RAX.
Yeah.
It's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's a little.
Yes, we've been like, because we want to make these challenges like simple enough that you can solve it
very
within
quickly.
The time spin.
Yep.
We have been like putting in like a bit artificial gadgets and aspects of the programs here to make them easier to actually exploit.
So let's just see if we can get caught up and get a sense of where everybody's at. I don't know that anybody yet knows exactly what they're doing.
I don't think so either. I haven't seen any crashes. I haven't seen any like weird behavior yet. I think they're still like exploring the program, trying to figure out what's going on. You could see their exploit in the exploit script there. They're trying to like start to build up that kind of like template we talked about before on the stream, like building abstractions around those like interactions in the program so that you can just easily then put these building blocks together into an exploit.
Yeah, and I will point out again, these are the top players in what is already a collection of the top players in the world. Right. And so this, I think the lesson we found is that the further along we make it in this competition, the harder it is to see what they're doing because they move so quickly that we need to freeze frame, we need to pause. And one of the things I would love to do next year is actually bring them in for commentary afterwards, have a little debrief session. But we kind of got to balance how much of their time we take up since we are going concurrently with the real event.
But this is part of a competition.
Yeah.
It's a very prestigious competition. All the teams are here. They're
really,
playing
really
to
want
win.
to win. Yep.
They get the glory of winning the DEF CON CTF. They are awarded black badges, right?
8
for winning.
Black badges for the winning team. It is the only event that has gotten consistently 8 black badges every year. Normal events get 1 maybe, or maybe 2. And so this is like the biggest pinnacle of all, and there are dozens or hundreds maybe even of competitions if you count all the little challenges all over the event. There are tons and tons of things here at DEF CON, but this is the pinnacle. And so we did our best to try to like integrate within the CTF, but not take too much away from it.
Right,
We've
right.
got the best people up here. We're only here for a maximum of about 4 hours each, and that's over the course of like a 3-day event. I think the best we could do.
Yes. And I mean, overall, the DEF CON CTF, like within the CTF community, it's like one of those, like I would say, top 5 or so events of the year.
And it's certainly one of the most longest running CTFs.
For sure,
certainly
for sure.
The consistency.
It's probably like the best known, or maybe the only known, like outside of like the CTF community. Like
I have actually had people like recognize DEF CON CTF if I'm wearing like my leather jacket. So actually, it's one of the other things is that if the winning team usually gets a leather jacket, or at least they have in the past. I don't know if they still do that, but you would get like these DEF CON branded leather jackets, which doesn't do me a lot of good in Florida, but occasionally I get a chance to wear it.
Right. So switching over to Starbucks again, we can see here that they're looking at S maps, which I don't even know what that is. What is
Proc Self S maps?
Yes.
I don't know either.
Like maps will show you the memory mapping.
Which is actually what Perfect Route is doing right now. They did just that in their script. They leaked out Proc Self maps.
You can see there they're looking at like a whole bunch of other mappings and stuff. So they're playing around with this. I don't know if they're like looking for something specific or just checking around a bit to see what they can find.
I mean, certainly with that call RAX, right, or that they're given extremely suspicious menu option, it makes sense that they're in their script. They might want to understand the base addresses so that they can shift and adjust an actual pointer where something is loaded. So
for sure,
combining those I think makes a lot of sense. But there's
right.
still
you need to break that down and then into sub goals. Like that the end goal is to control the value of this register, but like
where are you going to point it?
Right, where are you going to point it, and how do you get there?
Yes, and I think they know where they're going to point it by reading the Proc Self maps. I think they both kind of can figure that out. They can figure out the offsets. They can find this stuff. And I don't remember, is there a win function in this binary? I don't remember if we've seen that, if it exists. Does a win function exist in this binary? I'm asking our producer. Does a win function exist in this one? I don't know that it does, but we're gonna double check on that.
We're gonna have an answer on this very shortly. In the meantime, we can see that Perfect Route, they are...
Yes, Perfect Route is still the same player. They have not swapped out. Okay, so there are... they're in the binary. There is not a traditional win function the way we've seen other ones where it's literally just a system of bin SH, which is that you could just call it and immediately get a shell with the way that these challenges have standard input wired up to the network socket teams are connecting to. But you can either hit one gadget or there's actually a component in the binary itself that has a syscall available that's kind of intended as another potential target.
Right.
And that's actually a good way to make it so that teams can... that we can make sure the difficulty is intended to be a little lower. If there's only exactly one path through the binary, it decreases the odds that somebody's going to get to it in time. So having a couple of different sort of parallel paths is often a nice way to make these accessible. So okay, looking at we're looking at perfect route. I almost said perfect blue, which again, perfect route is one of the components. Yeah. So again, many of these
perfect
teams,
blue and rudimentary are the components of this team.
Yeah, and many of these teams are kind of combined here for DEF CON CTF. And some of them I expect will play together afterwards, and some of them will kind of split back up and maybe only come together once a year just for this event. I think we'll see probably both of those.
Yes. So...
okay, now this is... So we're looking at the right.
Yes. We have some... cheer in the chat. Is that let's see if I can not embarrass myself, is that like Korean script?
That is Korean.
Yes,
for sure. I thought you were going to read it. I was like, oh, you
no. We're not. Let's not go that far. I just wanted to identify the right
the character set
here.
All right, fair.
But I've actually heard that learning to read the Korean is actually relatively simple.
Yeah, the pronunciation is straightforward, and like unlike Chinese, for example.
Yeah.
I can read a little bit of it, but like it's every character is its own word, so much harder.
Yeah.
I love how much love our contestants are getting. They are so handsome.
Yes.
They are so wonderful, and I'm glad our chat appreciates that. We have some fantastic competitors. On both sides. So actually, to answer your question in chat, I know we have Alex on the Perfect Route side, only because I saw a prompt earlier. So they've got their path, their username is Alex, in the virtual machine. I don't know if I've seen that for Team Starbug, the name of the player that they're sending.
Right.
So there we go. So we've got the answers coming through. Oh, yeah, excellent.
Leader fighting. Yeah, that's also something when I learned when playing CTFs in Korea, that you have the fighting.
That's just like working hard.
And there's like a pose thing. Like
ooh, nice.
I think it was like, this.
Ooh,
I apologize for any misremembrance of like how this is supposed to be. But back to the game. Let's go to Starbucks. You can see here that they have some kind of leak, I think, because the Pwn Tools output is switching to the hex output, which it does when there are
ASCII.
non-ASCII characters in your debug log. So this is something I really like when using Pwn Tools. Like when you use the tubes library, turn on that debugging things. You can just see all the bytes being sent and
really
received
handy
from it, and you can see that within or prepended to that text, there is some, seemingly random bytes, but probably. Well, you can see the
like
7F00. That looks very much like a pointer.
That might be a pointer.
There are 2 pointers there actually.
Yeah.
So you can see that pattern with the 0F0000. Looks like the 3 upper bytes of a address. Typically, either probably the library are going to be in that range.
Yeah, like the libc or something else. So thank you very much for chat. We appreciate the love. It has been exhausting. We are really excited to see these teams. We're also really excited to be done and rest our voices and just lay on the ground, I think, and be quiet for a little bit.
I'm just gonna crash on the floor here
right
after. But no, I mean, if you are here in Vegas at DEF CON, after
Void Mercy. Sorry, I didn't know. Void Mercy is the name. Yes, that makes a ton of sense.
Oh, okay, nice.
That's the handle. There we go.
Right. So if you're here at the event, come talk to us afterwards. Tell us what you think about the event so far. Maybe if have any wish, anything to the wish list for next year if we do this again.
Let's come back and take a look at Perfect Root, because their payload now, they've actually been using that the abilities to send things into. No, where'd it go? It went away. So they had the allocate chunk right there. So by doing a load file from standard inputs and then sending some data, they're able to allocate chunks of different sizes. So they are looking into ways to control the heap allocations by using that standard input as a file read and then just sending an arbitrary amount of data to fill up that buffer. So that's a really clever way to get exact sized allocations. And we'll see if they are going to need that for their exploit. I don't see anyone who has actually found the vulnerability itself. We're about 15 minutes in now, and just devest standard in, right? You don't even need to do the other version of it. But I'm still waiting to see somebody demonstrate knowledge of the actual flaw itself.
I mean,
they could be in their head, but I'm not seeing any scripts yet.
I do like this the leak that we're seeing here. I'm pretty sure this is some kind of memory leak.
It sure looks like it.
And it's even written here, you're calculating the libc base by taking the leak and subtracting an offset, a classic part of your exploit, right? So there's definitely some progress there. I'm not sure if that will take them all the way. So we're saying that one possible solution here is to leak a libc address, get your libc base, somehow control the register, REX register, and then go for the one gadget.
That's the bug, though, right? We're still looking for somebody to find that bug.
Right.
How do they get that RAX control? Once they have that, I think that the rest of the components are pretty straightforward. So that's what we're looking to see. And we've got plenty of time. The good news is this final round can also, much like the last semifinal round, which was able to go a little bit longer before we went to the sudden death, we do have a good hour and a half, I think, before we are going to have to switch over to a sudden death. But we do still have a hard limit.
Yes.
So if we're not able to solve it, we will switch to one of our sudden deaths. And as you noticed in the last round, our sudden deaths have gotten real fast. We made sure that our sudden deaths are just very, very quick.
Oh, that one was like, what was it? It was like under 5 minutes.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
In terms of both teams being Korean-based, actually, I think we have a mixture. Perfect Root has a couple of different groups that have come together. I know.
Right.
But I do think Starbug may be predominantly Korean.
Right, and Perfect Route, I think, is mostly U.S. based, but
students who may have come over or
right.
may have been from a variety of places.
They have, I think, friends from across the different. I know that Perfect Blue is like a U.S. based.
At one team, it was a college team, right? Where a
right.
lot of them were still in college. I think many of them have graduated and are now in industry, but they kind of met and started there.
Yes.
So. All right, we're still, see, this is surprising to me. I wonder, are they, I feel like this is a lot of work on both teams, and yet almost just stepping back and looking and saying, where's the bug, right? Because I don't see anybody who's found the bug yet, and I feel like all this work that they're doing, it's a lot of motion, but not a lot of destination yet. And so I kind of want to see somebody like just stop and just spend some time really marking this up in a decompiler, really looking at.
Yes, although if I did not see a stack smashing detector there, right?
Then maybe we do know the bug on Starbug's side.
But that's interesting because.
So what is this script doing?
Whoa! That was a shell, I think. Well, or was it?
Yeah. So copying it into the VM. This is what we've seen before. Copying it out of the VM and going to throw it on against the 10th service.
It's not working remotely. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay, so we're very close. We can hear the frustration.
Yeah, you can.
And the teammates are behind.
They're cheering on.
Chatting.
The emotions
as long as they're not telling advice. Yeah, that's the only downside. But
as long as they're not giving any hints, they can show all the emotions.
Is exactly encouraged.
Oh, they're trying to figure it out. It's so, yeah.
So I would love to see. Take a look at that exploit the next time it comes up, and I'm very curious. What are we seeing that?
Like they're trying to run it remote. Oh, they have. They're running it. Is
this it? Is this it?
They're double checking.
Double checking it. Yes. Team two.
Oh,
that's it. We have a winner! Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very well done. Very well done. All right. That was amazing. Let's go ahead and just step back. Congratulations to Team Starbug. Starbug was the winning team. So well done. Made it through all 4 rounds of live CTF this whole weekend. The amount of stress, it was stressful for us just watching. I cannot imagine how much effort and energy these teams have just been exhausting themselves. It is so hard to sit up here in a room full of people staring over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's the pressure is crushing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
So chat, thank you very much. You guys hung out with us this all weekend. Look forward. I can't wait to see a lot of people figuring out afterwards. They're going to freeze frame in slow-mo, and we're going to get much more information about the different approaches and how things worked.
I think Live Overflow is still running his recap stream. You want to head over there after this ends.
Keep an eye out for the challenges, because we are also going to be releasing all of these challenges to the public. We'll put out a GitHub repo with both source code and the exact binaries that teams were given.
Probably
during
put some
the event.
information on the website there, a link to the different things, the YouTube channel, the GitHub repo.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that bracket one last time and pull that up, and we'll show what we did this last several days, right? So we had teams coming from the round of 16 all the way up to this final event. What a great showing. That was super fun.
We want to also a big thanks to everyone who helped out making this possible. So we had us and Glenn here on site in Vegas for this, and you have multiple people off site as well.
Thanks to Josh for all the challenges. Thanks to Nick for a challenge. Thanks to Rusty for a bunch of work on challenges. Thanks to Brumley for bringing us food, because we had several meals brought to us here that was super helpful.
So nice.
So this was a blast.
And then we had Live Overflow on commentary. We had Brandon Falk, Gamoso Labs on commentary
also
as well.
as a guest commentator, and Lightning, of course, from Nautilus Institute.
Yeah, and speaking of, big thanks to Nautilus Institute for
bringing us out in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. So good job to Starbugs for winning. Fantastic. All right, we are going to pack it in. I think that's about it for the stream for now.
Yeah.
We look forward to coming back. Live CTF is not going away forever. We would love to come back again for DEF CON CTF next year. But if you're actually interested in Live CTF coming to another CTF, we want other people to be doing this as well too. We think just the idea of showing what teams are doing and talking about it and being able to make it a little bit more accessible is super fun. And so we're looking forward to that happening.
Right. So, that's going to be it for us. I've been Carl, Ceta2. Jordan.
I've been CypherDex, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.